Hey guys, welcome to the latest Fortran tutorial. It's been a while since the last one, and I just wanted to say I'm really glad to be back doing it again. While I have learned a lot in the meantime, I've also learned a lot about my limitations. And so if there's anything that I kind of explain in a weird way, or if there's any clarifications I need to make, or if I went through something too quickly, feel free to reach out in the comments and I'll be happy to clear things up. So today we're going to be learning about logic. They say in programming there's really two things that you always do. First is just like basic counting. And then the rest is advanced counting. So you'll find yourself doing a lot of counting in programming, and famously, one of the most prevalent errors is just being off by one when you count. So counting sounds easy, but it can be pretty hard to get right. And you'll see why in a few minutes. So let's start off with some basics. So we learned about variables last time, and you can define an integer and you can define a real value, which probably should properly be called float or double perhaps, depending on what kind of real integer you want, real number. But we also have a third data type, and it's called logical. And this is also, in other languages, it's more commonly called a Boolean. So a Boolean, and I'm just going to define one called Sunday. And we're going to assert that Sunday is false, meaning it's not Sunday today. I don't know when you're watching this video, but chances are it's not Sunday. And I'm going to define another variable, and it's going to be called hunger. And this is going to be true. Maybe it's reading from a sensor, like a Fitbit or something, and it tells us whether the user is hungry. So if they're hungry, then it's going to be true. And if it's Sunday, then Sunday will be true. But right now it's not Sunday. So these logical values, they can either have false or true, as you may have surmised. There's no in between. There's just 0 or 1. And that is how the computer encodes true and false, zeros or ones. So it's really just a number. It's just an integer. Except there's not tons of values for it. It's just those two. So what we can do with this is we can write what's called an if statement. So we can write if, and then we want to write our expression. And then we do a no semicolon, and then we type the word then. And then we do a few lines later, and if. So our condition is going to go in here. So our condition will be like, if it's not Sunday and hunger is true. So when I say and hunger, that just means and hunger is true. So if not Sunday is true and hunger is true. And note that when it's written like this, it means that. So not Sunday is evaluated first. And I'll just parenthesize it just for clarity. But now that we have this written, we can do our logic, which is going to be, you can eat at Chick-fil-A. This video is not endorsed or sponsored by Chick-fil-A or any other chicken companies, by the way. And so if we run this, it is currently printing out text, and that is because it is not Sunday and we are hungry. However, if we're not hungry, then let's go run it again, and nothing gets outputted. Now, if we wanted to be more explicit about that, we could write an else clause, and this is kind of tacked on before the end if you write the else. So let's put in an else clause, and this is just like, similar to as you might have imagined from its name, it's just this gets run when this does not get run. So this will be the no chicken today clause. So when we run this, it'll say no chicken today. And if we change Sunday to true and hunger to true, we'll also get no chicken today. And that's because we said that if not Sunday, and Sunday is true. So what is not true? It's false. So false, if false and hunger is true, but this is false and true. And so this kind of gets to the core of and. What does and even mean? So I'm going to write out what's called a truth table. And so the truth table for and is as follows. So true and true is true. True and false is false. False and true is false. And false and false is false. So really the only thing that's true is true and true. And that makes sense, right? Because like if you say if A and B, then C, then that means that, you know, both those things have to be true. Whereas or maybe a little bit more confusing. So we have true and true. That's true. I'm sorry, true. So let's start with false or false. So false or false is just false because, you know, neither of those things is true. So, but false or true is true. And true or false is also true. Order doesn't matter. And true or true, now this is what trips some people up. True or true is true. So this is not what you might imagine or to mean like in your everyday life. So, and let me just rewrite this in the same order as above. So we got true or true, true or false, false and true, and then false and false. So this is, now these are in the same order. So you might imagine that, like, you know, if you say either you're with me or you're against me, that means that you can't be both, right? Like you can't be both against and with somebody. But with or, as it's defined in Fortran at least, and many other languages, you can. True or true is true. There is another thing called XOR, exclusive OR, that you don't usually see in programming because it's not very common and not very well supported. But sometimes you have XOR, and in XOR, true or true, XOR is the same as or, except that XOR true XOR true is false. So everything else about or is the same. So, you know, but it's what you sometimes mean when you say or. So we've got and or defined. Now we've got our program running that does some logic. We can also read text from the user. So we can actually say, you know, is it Sunday? And then we'll read Sunday. And actually, we have to specify to the user how to respond. So it has to be either a T or an F for Fortran to read this value. And then we can also ask whether you're hungry or not. So now that we've got this, we can run our program and we can say, yes, it's Sunday, and yes, I'm hungry. No chicken though, because it's Sunday. So now it's not Sunday, but no, I'm not hungry. Okay, no chicken. Is it Sunday? No, but am I hungry? Yes. Okay, we can eat chicken. So we got it. Now, that was a pretty dumb example, but you know, you got the gist. Now there is something else that we can do. And I'm just going to touch on this briefly before the next tutorial, but we can have what's called a loop. So we can do a do while, and then we can have some condition. So let's say that we have something that starts as true called do another, and we're going to put our condition in here. So do another, and inside of here we're just going to print some text that's kind of fun. And then we're going to ask the user if they want to do another one. And now we're going to read that value, do another. And now when do another becomes false, we're not going to do this again. So let's try this out. So boo, do another, true. Do another, true. So this is going to keep repeating until we hit false, and then the program finishes. So this is what a while loop does. It just repeats this code that's inside the loop until this condition becomes false.